Hello everyone, this is Pioneer Productions, and today I will present to you the second episode of my series, Let's Talk Ideology. For this video, we shall be discussing the big bad boy of politics, Nazism. Now, I trust many of you have heard the term Nazi at some point in your lives, whether thrown at someone as a slur or maybe in a history class about World War II and the like. Now, let me just make something clear. Nazism is a sub-branch of a different ideology, fascism. Nazism itself is an abbreviation for National Socialism, which is a German derivative of fascism. So I just want to make that distinction clear. This video is about fascism, not Nazism, though it will cover the subject. So, to get into it, let's talk about the basics of fascism. Fascism, unlike communism, is a right-wing ideology, an extreme right-wing ideology, centered around the concepts of ultranationalism, militarism, and ethnocentrism. Now, fascism is built around the concept that the world is inherently hierarchical, and you can see this in the various fascist societies that have existed in the past. The Nazis, for example, placed the German Aryan master race at the top of the pyramid of society, with other races stacked below in varying orders, with Jews, Gypsies, Roma, Slavs at the very bottom. Now, it should also be noted that fascism is infamous for its inherent militarism, because at its core, fascism is a sort of might makes right sort of ideology and stipulates that only the strongest can survive and that only the strongest have full rights. Those that are weak are undeserving of even living. Hence why you see so many fascist or proto-fascist regimes engage in genocide, because their core values of militarism and, well, war in general means that they are inherently disdainful of any concept of mercy or equality. Now, we also need to look at history to see what fascism does, how it works in real life. And arguably the most, notable example is, of course, the Third Reich itself, or Hitler's Nazi Germany, as most people call it. Now, Hitler devised his own derivative of fascism called National Socialism, which was essentially a localized version of fascism built to better suit the needs of Germany specifically. And Hitler's view was that the German nation had a destiny to expand across Europe to establish the dominance of the so-called Aryan master race, which Hitler believed stood above everything else. Furthermore, his regime oversaw extensive militarization of German society, from everything, right down to the very culture of the German nation. Now, we all know where this led. This led to World War II, the biggest armed conflict in human history. And this is the inevitable result of many fascist regimes. Their warlike nature inevitably leads to conflict, death, and destruction. Though, granted, not all fascist regimes were all about war. Fascism is a totalitarian ideology just like its opponent, communism. Except fascism isn't based around equality like its communist adversary. Fascism is based around hierarchy, though in some cases this can vary, such as with Hitler's Frontgemeinschaft and so on. Fascism holds that the state is above everything. There's a famous quote from Mussolini, though take my word with a grain of salt, I can't remember all the words, that the state is everything and therefore the individual is nothing. And this trickles down into everything about fascist governance. You can even see it in the architecture. Fascist architecture, like the sort commissioned in Germany under German architect Albert Speer, is symmetrical, simplistic, and it emits a dominant aura, and as such emits the power of the state, which is meant to emit power. A totalitarian dictatorship has to find a way to exert its dominance over the populace throughout their day-to-day lives. And this means influencing everything. That's why the term totalitarianism was actually first used and coined to describe fascist regimes, specifically Mussolini's in the 1920s. Now, fascism, like communism, has proven to be a failure as a ruling ideology, as a system of governance, mostly because the main fascist regimes, Fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, fell at the end of World War II because of their own murderous impulses. But unlike communism, fascism doesn't have as much of a following anymore. You can still find the occasional Marxist here and there. There are still communists, so-called, around in the West who claim to subscribe to the ideology of Marx. However, you will not see as many people openly claiming to be fascists. And the reasons as to why that is can be debated in another video, or in another place, or in another time. But you have to note that fascism did many despicable things, and this has left a mark on history. That is why people nowadays do not openly flaunt the swastika flag as others may flaunt the hammer and sickle. And keep this in mind, because people despise reprehensible ideologies, and that will show in public, based on how people flaunt those specific beliefs. And I think that more or less covers the general ideology of fascism. I hope that this video was helpful to you in getting a general idea of how fascism works. This is the Pioneer, signing off.